Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Two Dudes in a Couch, where we wade through the crap on Netflix Instant to bring you weekly horror film reviews of the often hidden horror gems that you may have missed. I'm Travis.
And I'm Brian. And today's review is a 2003 film, Dead End, directed by John Baptiste Andrea.
Is anybody else just the least bit freaked out that we are the only car on the road right now?
It's Christmas Eve. For the last 20 years, Frank has driven his family to his mother-in-law's house by way of the interstate. But this year, Frank decides to try a shortcut that turns out to be the biggest mistake of his life.
When a mysterious woman and her baby appear in the woods, it sends this family into chaos. Is this family doomed? Will they make it to their final destination?
Over here, for God's sake. Laura!
I'm just kidding.
So what are your initial thoughts on Dead End?
Well, Brian, honestly, I'd never heard of this film until recently. It had a very small opening in Spain, of all places, and then it went straight to tape and DVD. This film has gone pretty much unnoticed until it was recently put up on Netflix Instant. That being said, I'm surprised by the actors that are in this film. You have Ray Wise, who was in Reaper, Mad Men, and How I Met Your Mother. You may also recognize the hilarious Lin Shaye, who has tons of horror and comedies under her belt, including Insidious, 2001 Maniacs, New Nightmare, Dumb and Dumber, Critters, Nightmare on Elm Street, and my personal favorite, Kingpin.
That's an impressive cast for an obviously low-budget film. I've heard great things about Dead End, so I'm ready to get this started. I'm gonna go grab the refreshments.
And I'll start the show.
Let's do it.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves.
And we're back. So Brian, did this film meet your expectations?
Man, it sure did. This movie really needs to be like a guide to show how low-budget filmmakers can make a huge, amazing-looking movie. So Travis, what did you think?
You know, I really enjoyed this film. It's one of those types of movies that when the credits roll at the end, you're probably going to be saying to yourself, I really need to watch this again. If you do decide to give it a second view, it's going to be like it's a completely different movie, because now you're going to have the inside information and it's just going to play out completely different. So let's break this down. Brian, what did you think about the storyline?
Alright, now Dead End is odd, and can be seen as both a horror comedy and a straight horror movie all in one film. The movie messes with the audience in a very satisfying way though. So what do you think of the acting, Travis?
Well, for a low-budget film, there were some really great performances that were turned in by these actors. Mick Cain played a great stoner and delivered some really funny one-liners. Did you know that he stood in for Justin Long in Drag Me to Hell? Ray Wise plays his usual character type, which isn't a bad thing. Lin Shaye played her usual self, which is a good thing in that she's pretty funny, but it was almost like they forgot to tell her that this was also a horror movie. So Brian, what did you think about the special effects?
Due to low budget, Dead End used an interesting strategy when it came to the gore. While there were a couple gross out scenes in the film, the director chose to focus on how disturbing the gore was to the survivors. Kind of like this.
Oh man, that's not good.
Oh, it's like...
You gotta have to move it. It's in the road. I don't want to touch.
Dude, I'm not touching that.
I'm not touching that. Look
Where's the extras? Make them do it. We don't have extras. Man, come on. Get in there, man. I'm not...
So it's difficult to talk about the weaknesses of Dead End without spoiling the film. But there was this one scene that I just really didn't get. Frank, the father, had a really good relationship with his daughter. At least it seemed that way during the film. But then towards the end, he just starts knocking her around and actually punches her out. It was almost like the director couldn't figure out how to set up the next scene that follows that. So he was just like, just punch her in the face. So I guess it's time to give this film a rating.
Two Dudes in the Couch is proud to give Dead End a... 4-kill rating.
So if you're in a mood for a road trip gone wrong, film with an odd mom, crazy dad, Shrek sister, stoner guy, creepy car, crazy lady with gross baby, Christmas Eve disaster, then go watch this on Netflix now!
And after you watch it, head over to Kojo Films on Facebook and tell us your thoughts on Dead End.
Because we want to hear from you. Do you agree with the review? Is there a movie on Netflix that you really wish could end up on Two Dudes and a Couch? Let us know and we'll see if we can make that happen.
You know what? There is one request that we've had.
Oh yeah? What's that?
Well, the fans want to know about all the crappy movies that are out there. All the ones that we had to watch to bring the actual great flicks to them.
There's a bunch. Okay, well in that case, I think it's time that we unveil our brand new segment called The Weekly Dump.
These are the films that didn't make the cut. They're the worst of the worst. The ones only real diehard fans should watch.
So this week's dump is the 2011 New Zealand horror flick called Devil's Rock. The story in this film is familiar in that it involves Nazis and the occult.
While we gladly give the film props for its slick cinematography and great film location for such a low budget project,
Who is that woman out there?
What were you expecting, my love? The devil?
We just couldn't get past how long the story dragged on. While watching the film, I kept thinking to myself, man, it's about to get crazy in here. And what should have been screams turned out to be merely whispers.
the director tried to amp up the horror by showing disfigured remains of the carnage that took place before the main characters arrive.
The problem is that this makes the viewer expect to see some crazy stuff happen and some really intense scenes, but they never happen.
Yeah, but when you actually see, it's just a lady with prosthetic horns and red body paint who talks in a standard demon voice.
Blah, blah, blah. So considering this film has a lot of talk and little action, Two Dudes and a Couch is giving it a...
Looks like you're shooting blanks.
One kill rating.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of Two Dudes and a Couch.
And until then,
Stay bloody.